know.
Time now for Something You Should Know, brought to you by GenesisGoldIRA.com. That is something you should know as well, that you can put your retirement plan on the gold standard. Genesis Gold Group is the only IRA backed by physical gold and silver. Learn more and get a free gold and silver guide at GenesisGoldIRA.com. And our guest today is Kerri Kasem. Now, that last name might sound familiar because Casey Kasem had American Top 40 for many, many, many years. And a lot of people absolutely loved that program, and they still love that program. We carry it here on Sunny Radio, and I have people who tune in and listen to it every single weekend from all around the country. And Kerri, your father has been missed for years, and it's hard to believe 10 years ago is when he passed away.
When my father died, I looked at my brother and sister and I said, 10 years is going to go by, and I snapped my fingers like that.
Yeah.
And it has. And it's just, time goes so fast when you get, especially as you get older. Yeah.
Kerri, over the years, so many people tuned in and listened to your father with the American Top 40 and then also with Casey's Top 40, and they just fell in love with this guy. And we still play him on the radio here on Sunny Radio, and people listen every single weekend. We know the radio version, but what was it like to be his daughter, and what was he like in real life?
Wow, he was incredible. He was the best dad you could ever ask for. He's somebody that even at the height of his career was, there was one time I was doing really poorly in school, and he came every day to check to see if I turned my homework in. He called us every single day when my mom and dad divorced. He was always there. And he would always tell us stories about his life so we wouldn't repeat mistakes. There were little anecdotes, and we were always teaching us something. And he was always fighting for what he thought was right and helping people. And he just had such a passion for human rights, and he's such a humanitarian. And I was so proud of my dad. And that's not, creating American Top 40 and being the voice of Shaggy on Scooby-Doo. And, there's so many great things about my dad, but most of all, he was just the best dad. He was the best father.
And again, he's been gone 10 years. So this is your 10th Father's Day without your father here on Earth. And the other thing that is happening this weekend is Elder Abuse Awareness Day. And such an amazing story of Casey Kasem and such a weird ending. And I remember when all of this stuff was going on, I was like, what in the world? And, we were just getting it from the news, but you lived this. How bizarre was how bizarre was all the stuff that you went through 10 years ago?
It was so bizarre. A lot of people didn't understand it. Or now I think more people understand and have a good sense of what goes on when people are isolated, especially under a guardianship or conservatorship. You see it. You saw it, all over the news with Britney Spears. You've seen it a lot now with, Glenn Campbell and Mickey Rooney. And you see it when it's out there in the news, right? But people don't realize that every day there are thousands of people in conservatorships and guardianships that don't belong there, that are being isolated by that, and I use caretaker in quotes. So I didn't know this until I started fighting for my dad when he was taken from us, meaning he was completely isolated by his wife and nobody could see him. It wasn't just us kids. None of his friends or family members could see him. And going to court, I thought, we'll get visitation with Dad. Of course, we see him every single weekend. We talk to him every day on the phone. And then all the lies started coming out that we were estranged, that we were this. And it's like, wait a second. And then you realize your life is playing out in the media and people don't know what to believe. Yeah. So it was very hard, but I just kept focused on, I'm going to prove, in court that this isn't true. And I did. It took me 8 months, and I was told I'd never win a case over a wife of 34 years. I proved egregious elder abuse. And I won conservatorship over my father, but then she had taken him to 3 different states, hiding him from us. And that killed him. But I did an entire podcast on this. It's called Bitter Blood, Kasem versus Kasem. And it's what you would have seen if we would have had a trial. Yeah. And it's all the depositions of the caretakers and the doctors and everybody besides. It's not just me saying it anymore. It's everybody who saw this. And this is happening to so many people in this great country of ours. I've gotten thousands through the last 10 years, thousands of letters, DMs, people from social media. It's an epidemic. So I decided to, really devote part of my life to changing the laws in this country. And Kasem Cares, my nonprofit, we've gotten 12 states to change the laws to allow There's a law now you can use to go see mom or dad if you're being isolated by an uncooperative caretaker. And 9 of the states have adopted a version of the Kasem Cares visitation bill. So we have 21 states, and some states have 2 or 3 bills in them. So it's been life-changing for me, and it's something that I will continue to do. I have a bill right now in California going through to strengthen our first bill. We've got bills in Michigan going through, and we've got a great team, and we're just going to keep fighting.
Well, I appreciate all that you're doing. And again, I remember when I was reading this that, once your father passed away, she didn't claim the body until weeks later, and then she tried to hide the burial spot and the whole everything that happened. I just go, what in the world? And again, you lived this firsthand, and I'm so sorry that you had to go through all of that 10 years ago.
Thank you. I really appreciate that. I really, I made lemonade out of lemons because I've helped so many people.
Yes.
I don't wish this on anybody, and my dad was the one who suffered the most. But, we've changed a lot of the laws. She falsified his death certificate and wrote that he had, and they had been living in Israel for 18 years. My dad had never been to Israel. He was, his family's from Lebanon. So if anywhere, he'd be, buried back in Lebanon, but he's born and raised in Michigan. He's an American citizen that was an American icon. And she tried to get him into Israel. They said no. Tried to get him into France. They said no. Tried Canada. They said no. And then she wrote a letter stating she was Norwegian, and she's not, and her family's not. And they wrote letters on the contrary. But Norway let her bury my dad there, and I'm going to go see him now for World Elder Abuse Awareness Day and Father's Day, and that is the day he died. He died. My dad died on World Elder Abuse Awareness Day.
Wow.
It was just a sign for me to keep going. It was also Father's Day of that year. So it's just, I think my dad was saying, just keep going. You're doing the right thing. Yeah.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for all that you're doing, not just for this, but for so many people that are struggling with this. And I know, your father is famous, so we know this story. And there's some other names you mentioned that are famous people, but this happens to thousands of people, and it's happening all the time. And sadly, it doesn't get the attention it deserves. And I appreciate all that you're doing to make this something that matters a little more to some people.
You got it. Absolutely. And if anybody else needs help and you're going through this, please go to kasemcares.org. We can help. That's kasemcares.org. Thank you so much for having me on. I really appreciate it.
Absolutely. Again, the website is kasemcares.org. I'm on it right now. KASEMCARES.org. And this is Something You Should Know.
And something you should know.
Something You Should Know is brought to you by GenesisGoldIRA.com. Put your retirement plan on the gold standard. Get a free gold and silver guide now at GenesisGoldIRA.com.